Hi, I'm Launi with Learn Law for All, and today we have with us for our podcast Brian Chase. Hi, Brian.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. I always feel very lucky that you're here and talking to us. So Brian and I just recorded a CLE on our houses spying on us, and all the information there. So a little bit about Brian is he's the managing director of digital forensic and e-discovery at Archer Hall. He has his undergraduate in MIS from U of A, his law degree from U of A. He is licensed in New York and Arizona. He's an adjunct professor at U of A, and he has numerous digital forensics certifications. He testifies in civil and criminal court, state and federal, and as an attorney, he practiced misdemeanors and felony trials. So he's definitely got just a wealth of experience. As for my usual disclaimer, remember, viewing this podcast or any of our podcasts does not create a professional relationship, an attorney-client relationship, or any attorney-client privilege. This podcast is made for educational and entertainment purposes only, is not meant to give specific advice. Brian is licensed in New York and Arizona, and I am licensed in Arizona. So with that said, this is Brian, this is your fourth podcast with me. And I would have you on every day if your schedule allowed and if you were willing, because I think you bring so much great information that every time I do a video with you, a CLE with you, I learned so much more new stuff. So you, on this one that you did on this house is spying on us, when you did, you gave some real news articles, and one of the ones that you did was on this murder in a jacuzzi. Can you talk about that one?
Yes, it's a 2015 case from Arkansas. A man named James Bates had friends over at his house to watch football. They're drinking, watching the game, go to bed. A couple of friends are crashing in his house, staying over. And they wake up the next morning, and one of the friends, Victor Collins, is dead in the hot tub. So they call 911, police arrive, and police are a little concerned about what happened here. They see broken knobs from the hot tub on the ground. There's some blood spatter near the hot tub. There's broken beer bottles. Like, it looks like a crime scene to them. The medical examiner rules the death a homicide. So police then get a warrant. They search the home, and during the search of the home, they find an Amazon Echo. So they seize the Amazon Echo, and they go back to the judge and they ask for a new warrant. This time they're asking for a warrant to send to Amazon. They say reason to believe that Amazon's in possession of records related to the investigation. Essentially what they're saying is, we think that Amazon Echo recorded audio around the time of the murder, and we want to get it. And this case made national news because it's the first time law enforcement was doing that. It's 2015, these devices were relatively new. So big headlines all over the country about police trying to get this data. Amazon ends up fighting the warrant and say, no, you can't have this data. There's a First Amendment issue. They're trying to protect their users. But Mr. Bates actually just agrees to turn over the data, and there was nothing there. No real surprise on that, because the Amazon Echo is only going to record when it hears the wake word, which is Alexa. So nobody said it. There was no triggering event, so it didn't record anything. And so there was no data on that one. And that's where a lot of the reporting on the case stopped. But there was a lot more to that case. It turns out there was a number of other smart devices in that case. There was a water meter that was tracking water usage down to the hour. It was installed by the water company. And that showed that while they were watching football, they were using about 10 gallons of water an hour. But during the period of 1 a.m. to 3 a.m., they used 140 gallons of water. So police are thinking, well, maybe they killed Victor in the hot tub, they drained it, they refilled it to get rid of the evidence. And Mr. Bates got charged with the murder of his friend, Victor Collins. But there was even more data, and there was data that exonerated him. There was data, at least as the news reported it, from a step counting app on his phone. I think what it actually was probably like a Fitbit or an Apple Watch that showed that essentially once he went to bed, he didn't get up again. So it was recording him, showing he didn't sleep, showing, he was actually showing he did sleep and didn't walk around, and therefore couldn't have committed the murder. So we had like all of these different sources of data, which ultimately ended up exonerating James Bates, but not before police had accused him of murder. And I'm sure all of his friends and family and all of his acquaintances knew that he was being charged with killing his friend.
Shout out to those detectives, and shout out to the defense of the guy whose house it was, right? Because had they not said, "Oh, I was wearing this watch, it shows my heart rate and it shows my, how well I was sleeping, and shows I didn't get up and move um when this was happening." That, I mean,
Yeah.
there's just so much information available. Also, I think now, after listening to your video, I think now if I get scared in the house, I'm going to yell, "Alexa, start recording. I'm scared." And I feel like somebody's breaking in. Please record for the next, a half hour until I tell you not to. At least maybe then there's something there that can get taken. So when we were talking about the devices that are spying on us in the house, can you kind of give us, it doesn't have to be all encompassing list, but like a basic list of some of the big ones and really how they spy?
Sure. I mean, pretty much every device that you're installing in your home that connects to your home Wi-Fi is recording data. So some more than others. Certainly smart speakers that you talk to are going to be recording more data because they're listening and they're going to record everything you say to them. But everything that you put in your home is recording. The big ones, the cameras, they detect motion, they'll record, send that up to the cloud if you have a subscription plan. But everything down to like your thermostat could be recording it, could be tracking the temperature, how you adjust it, when you adjust it, whether you do it physically on the device or whether you do it through an app. So just about every smart device in your home records. Some of them are easier to get data from than others. So Google devices are a lot easier to get data from because Google makes it very easy for users to download their own data. All that data goes up to the cloud, and there's just a single web page you can go to download all of your Google data.
So yeah, you showed that on the video. So he did do an hour CLE on this. If the link will be below in this description if you're interested in seeing that. I always go back to the family law stalking aspect because I've had clients get stalked. And so we talked about that a little bit on the video also. And you kind of told us where to go on there. If you can kind of give us a little bit of information to help somebody who's listening to this, who feels like maybe they're somehow weirdly being stalked by, a way that they have no idea how they could be. Can you kind of tell maybe how they could be and maybe where they can find that out?
Yeah, so Google is another good one. So Google tracks every device connected to your account, and you could see that if you log into like your Gmail account, click on your picture up in the top right corner, it's going to take you to a page where you can then see devices that are connected. You can change your password. You can do things like that. And so that's an easy way to check and see what devices are connected to this account. That page that allows you to download all of your data from Google also allows you to download kind of activity data and shows what's going on. What are people doing across the various Google services? What searches are being run in Gmail? What's being looked at in Google Maps? And so you can see what data is being accessed that way. Other products make it a little harder. It's not always that easy to see who has access to your accounts. So it depends on the service from there. Google's certainly the easiest one to check because there's all sorts of logs, and Google makes it fairly easy to see what devices are connected and what activity is going on those devices inside your account.
So would changing your password block them from further looking into your Google account?
Yeah, so when you change your password, it's gonna lock out, and it can even when you go to change your password, Google will ask you, do you want to sign out of these other devices? If you say yes, it's gonna log out all of those other devices, and then you have to log back in. And if the person doesn't know the password, the new password, they can't log back in. So if somebody's afraid of being stalked through their Google account, I would recommend change that password and log out all of the devices. because the worst that happens for that user is they just have to log back in on, say, their laptop or their cell phone. But since they know the password, they can do that. And it will lock out anybody who doesn't know the new password.
Listen, I can't tell you how many clients that I've had and cases I've seen where, someone opens up an iPad for their kid with their information, and then their information travels back and forth with the kid. Or look, I mean, first of all, you find out there's so many. I can think off the top of my head probably at least 5 people who have caught their spouse cheating just by the iPad.
Yep.
They have their phone, they have the iPad, whatever it is, they hook it up to their account, their Apple account, and it's there forever. So do you have to change that out too for each device?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you go and change that password and then you log out all of those devices, then those devices are no longer connected to your account. They're not going to see any data. So you want to be doing that. It's easy to forget that you've set up, your kid's iPad or your kid's Fire tablet, whatever it might be. But if you go and you change the passwords to your account, log those devices out, that's going to protect your data.
All right. Okay. Yeah. That and those family sharing accounts, right? And the Snapchat and all those apps often have locations available too. So you can kind of, for at least for family law, sign out of those. Really, probably for criminal law, sign out of those. And I think I was telling you today about a case that's being that apparently is being set to go, where a DoorDash driver hit and killed someone. The person thinks that they were on their phone. Same kind of thing. You can get that information off of probably the car and their phone, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many devices out there that can track. So I mean, the modern cars are tracking lots of location, but then there's just things on top of that. Sometimes there's devices installed in a car to track that car as well. So there can be multiple different sources of this, essentially the same kinds of data.
Well, Brian, thank you again so much for being here. As usual, I really appreciate you being here. Brian did do the hour-long CLE on this. If you want more information, it's amazing information that I think every attorney should have, and really every non-attorney should have. Thank you, Brian.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
thanks for having me.